So Disney has announced that a Toy Story restaurant is going to be coming to Toy Story Land here at Walt Disney World. So let's dive into some new details and also where it's exactly going to be located up next. Hi there Waltoneers, I'm Jack and this is of course DSNY Newscast from here in Disney's Hollywood Studios. And you know what, let's just get straight into the topic for today. As it was exactly 1 year ago this week that Walt Disney World opened up the proverbial gate to Andy's backyard, with the opening of Toy Story Land on June 30th of 2018. And since then, the land has been met with a lot of positive reviews and guest reactions about the new expansion. However, Toy Story Land was never intended to be the main focus of Disney's Hollywood Studios' rejuvenation plan, and instead it was meant to act as more of an accompaniment to that of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge in pioneering a new mission statement for the park, by immersing the guests into the world of their beloved movies instead of taking guests behind the scenes. And well, it seems that Toy Story Land was such a success that it has now warranted a new edition only a year after its opening. As just ahead of the 30th anniversary of Disney Hollywood Studios back at the end of April, Disney Parks blog revealed that the Roundup Rodeo barbecue restaurant will be coming to Andy's backyard, with it to be themed after a rodeo arena that Andy has crafted out of his favourite Western themed games and playsets, whilst also including a full range of other toys as well. Now at the time of this announcement, little else was known beyond the official description. However, we have heard, thanks to the insiders over on the WDW Magic forums, that the location would most likely be on the existing expansion pad, which is just off to the right hand side of the massive 19-foot tall Sheriff Woody figure. But now we have even more activity in this exact area, as recently Disney filed permits for the demolition of these two backstage buildings at the addresses of 648 and 650 Stage Lane that are currently located just behind the Woody figure. But the location of the access pathway to the backstage indicates that this was always part of the plan, and in many ways this new addition of a sit-down table service restaurant is Disney returning to the original plans outlined in the first piece of concept art for Toy Story Land when it was announced back in 2015, as Andy's makeshift rodeo arena will take a lot of its inspiration from these early renderings, with the Western themed playset exteriors. However, I do caution that it won't look exactly as it was shown in this concept art from 2015, as that would require Disney creating a whole different Woody figure and changing up its location, which is not something that's part of this project. But instead, the restaurant will be built to fit within the existing entrance area. Although the promising thing here is that if Disney are demolishing these backstage buildings fairly soon, then construction should begin shortly after, meaning that we should be looking at a relatively quick turnaround for this new rodeo restaurant location, potentially opening as early as next year, but definitely by 2021, as part of the 50 new things coming to Walt Disney World for the 50th anniversary celebrations. However, this is where we have to turn to our trusted insiders on the WDW Magic forums to give us more insight about the restaurant, as apparently the dining experience will be akin to that of a Rainforest Cafe or T-Rex at Disney Springs, but for Toy Story characters instead, with there being some limited movement animatronics featured within the restaurant alongside some traditional figures. And this Roundup Rodeo barbecue will be an opportunity for Imagineering to represent the characters that cannot be found around Toy Story Land, such as Ham, Bo Peep, Zurg and Bullseye, whereas they'll also introduce some newer characters like Buttercup the Unicorn, Trixie the Dinosaur, and of course, considering that this is a dining location, Forky as well. Now there is a part of me that doesn't like the idea of new characters being integrated within the existing land, as this is after all Andy's backyard and not Bonnie's. But then again, most guests will either not know the backstory of the land or will not care enough about the inconsistencies for that to matter. And besides, most see this as a simple representation of the overall Toy Story franchise and not immersive storytelling like that of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. But overall, it's great to see some more highly themed dining options coming to Walt Disney World, although the one question that still remains is whether this will involve some character dining as well, as Disney have remained vague on this topic, but then again they can always introduce this at a later stage. Now since we're in Toy Story Land today, there really is no better place to talk about Toy Story 4 which debuted in theatres this past weekend, to a fantastic first weekend box office performance of $120 million domestically, which isn't Pixar's largest opening weekend box office, as The Incredibles 2 still holds that crown with $182 million. But currently Toy Story 4's worldwide box office gross is standing at $279 million, which is easily outpacing any of the previous Toy Story movies, and is still pretty great for a 5-day release. However, what's better than all of that is the response from critics and audiences alike, who for the most part have overwhelmingly concluded that Toy Story 4 was undeniably worthy of being part of the Toy Story franchise. Now, before we dive any further into this review, I just want to give a spoiler warning right now, and to jump to the time code that's issued on the screen to avoid any further spoilers if you haven't seen the movie yet. Okay, so first of all, it goes without saying that this is by far the funniest movie that Pixar has ever created, and couple that with the stunning advances in CGI animation and the well-rounded development of the new characters, this fourth installment is definitely a credit to the director, Josh Cooley, and the entire Pixar team. However, that's where my critiques lie, as despite it being completely worthy of the Toy Story moniker, I feel that it didn't go far enough in the overall narrative to warrant being called Toy Story 4, and instead I would have much preferred this to be titled Woody and Bo, a Toy Story movie instead, which would have given the franchise plenty of room to grow with new standalone sequels as well, exploring the various worlds of different toys without it becoming part of the overall story arc of 1, 2 and 3. As to me personally, the final act of the third movie was the perfect close to the toy and owner relationship. Whereas the concept in Toy Story 4 of Woody contemplating the toy version of retirement should have been handled as its own movie with its own title. Also, the great cast of legacy characters that Pixar built over 25 years didn't feel as integrated as they were in Toy Story 3, with Buzz pretty much having the same objective as he did back in Toy Story 2, 3 and 4, which was to rescue Woody. And personally, I feel that as a massive Toy Story fan and someone who has grown up loving all of these movies, I wish they had told a more ambitious story, such as what happens to electronic toys like Buzz Lightyear after 25 years when their circuits begin to fade, or expand upon the idea behind Forky and what gives a toy life. But undoubtedly, the success and response to that of Toy Story 4 leaves Pixar with plenty of room to expand for a fifth installment if they choose to do so, like Woody's first owner and his true origin story, or the effects that technology is currently having on the relationship between children and their toys. And despite Toy Story 4 not being my favourite of all of the Toy Story movies, it definitely did the Toy Story name justice, and was a very strong and heartwarming installment in this quarter-of-a-century-old franchise which will live on for generations to come. But now it's over to you, Walt and Iz. I would like to know, what were your thoughts on Toy Story 4, and also if you could add anything to the existing expansion pad within Toy Story Land instead of a restaurant, which will be a great addition, what would it be? And that could either be a new highly themed small shop, a small attraction, or an interactive experience, or even a different type of restaurant theme altogether. And of course, don't forget to put the timestamp for where the hidden Mickey appeared somewhere within this video, along with your suggestion or your comment, to be in with a chance to win one of these official DSNY Newscast Walt Disney enamel pins. And congratulations to this Walt Disney here for winning this suggestion from a previous video where we're talking all about the Inside Out ride that's coming to Pixar Pier over at Disney California Adventure. And so that's it for today. So go ahead and subscribe down below if you're new to this channel. Hit that notification icon so that you always receive an update whenever we release new videos on a Tuesday and a Thursday. And also, if you've enjoyed today's video from here in Toy Story Land at Disney's Hollywood Studios, then give this video a massive thumbs up, as it really does help this channel out. And I've been Jack, you've been you, and I'll see you real soon.